Hello everyone, this is a walkthrough of our processing homework for this week. We are going to be using open source programming software called OpenProcessing to generate a computer generated pattern for us. We're then going to take a screenshot of that and we're going to turn that screenshot into a pattern and apply it to a flat. Another thing we're going to be looking at is how to transform our pattern tile in case a seam line appears within our flat, how to move that seam line around so that it's not visible. Yeah, let's get started. So here I am looking at this week's work. We already did, a lot of you, if you did the hour of code activity, then you have gotten your feet wet with a little bit of coding. And you're welcome to go into the code and change the background color or the window size or other things like that that you learned in the hour of code. If you didn't do the hour of code, no worries. I'm going to walk you through our homework for this week. We're going to first download this folder called processing zip. And then once you have that folder, you need to extract it. For PC users, we need to double click this, and then we need to go and hit extract, extract everything in this folder. Mac users, you don't need to go to that step. But once we have this folder, if you've extracted it, you can go in there and you can open up this processing template that we have given. It may give you an error saying fonts are missing. You can just ignore that because we'll be making our own fonts anyway. We want to fill these three flats with three different patterns, and we want to fill this croquis. Now, the difference between this flat and this croquis is this flat has a white fill. So we can double click on the white area to select this layer. This croquis does not have any fills, so we need to click on the outer edge to select the shape to give it a fill. But before we get to there, let me show you how to where to find our patterns. So I'm going to go to the internet here, and I'm at a website called openprocessing.org. And when you come to OpenProcessing, it's going to ask you, do you want to join or log in? You don't need to do any of this. We can just hit this Discover button. And they have all different kinds of categories of very popular patterns that are being created with OpenProcessing. OpenProcessing is a syntax-based computer language. It's an accessible computer language, a language that isn't made up of all kinds of just symbols and numbers. It uses a lot of English. And if you go do that hour of code, if you haven't already, it kind of walks you through that whole process. So let's look at some of our patterns here. I went over here to physics, for example, and I was scrolling around here and I saw this one called fireworks. You have three buttons up here. This runs the program. This is the information on who made the program and the person who made it and the name of the program. This button right here shows you all the code. And if you wanted to copy the code and do a little bit of editing, you're certainly allowed to do that. If you hit play here, this just runs the program. I'll go over in another video if you want to learn how to edit your processing program. So now the program is running. It requires a user input. So if I click my mouse here, I get like these little patterns here. So let's say I want to create like a fireworks pattern. So I'm going to start clicking around, and on a PC to take a screenshot, it's Alt key and the print screen button. The print screen button is at the top of your keyboard to the right of your function keys. It may be a shared function. In my case, I have to hit Alt print screen. If you have a Mac, you have to hit Command-Shift-3 just takes a quick snapshot of your whole desktop, which you'll have to crop out. Command-Shift-4 allows you to select where you want to take your screenshot. Now, because this is animated, we don't have time to draw out our marquee box of what we want to take a screenshot of. So for Mac users, I do recommend Command-Shift-3. It's just like Alt print screen on a PC. So I'm going to start clicking here, and then I'm going to hit Alt print screen. So Alt print screen, and then I'm going to go into Photoshop here, and we'll go into a new file from our clipboard. So you can see it's already my screen resolution right here, and I'll hit paste, and you can see here is my my screenshot that I just took. So I'm going to crop it. This button right here is called the crop tool. It looks like a little picture frame, and from there I can just select all that I want for my pattern, right? We'll hit OK. Then once I have this, I want to turn this into my pattern to add to my clothing. I'm going to do a Control or Command A to select all, right? And we'll do a edit copy here. Now I'll go into Illustrator and I will hit paste. And from here, I can just go to Object Pattern Make. And it says we've added this pattern to your swatch panel. Hit OK. This is what your pattern will look like. I'll hit done when I'm done. Now I don't need this because I have my swatch here. And I want to fill one of these. Let's just fill this square first with my pattern. So there, now I have this line here that I don't want. So I'm just going to move my square around, and I already have this locked down. If you want to move this pattern around, you need to enable something called Transform Pattern Tiles. That's found under your Preferences pop-up. For Mac users, if you click on the AI icon, you can select Preferences. For PC users, you go to Edit, and then you go to Preferences, and you hit General. And from here, you have this button here, Transform Pattern Tiles. You see, I already have it toggled. If I untoggle this and hit OK, now when I move my square around, you see that seam line is locked in the background. I can move this to wherever I want to have my pattern. Let's say I want to have my pattern look like this, right? I want to put this back, but you see the background's still moving. So I'm going to lock it down. We go to Preferences. And again, for Mac users, you click on the icon over here to go to your preference. Pop-up, General. I'm going to click Transform Pattern Tiles again. Now my pattern is locked. You see that? And then for this one here, I can do the same thing. Now that we have one pattern, we need to create a colorway. So I'm going to go back to my Photoshop file, and I'll do a Control or Command U, and I'm going to hit the Colorize button. We'll crank up my saturation, and we can choose like a different colorway. Hit OK. I'm going to do Control A or Command A to select everything. We'll copy this again. Go back to Illustrator. We'll paste this in. And we can just go to Object Pattern Make. And since this object is selected, it will automatically make that new pattern. And as you can see, here's my pattern. We'll hit Done. You can see now I have that red and the blue. And I can take this square and I'll fill it with my blue background. Now I'm going to unlock it again. I'm going to go to my Preferences and go to General. And we'll turn off Transform Pattern Tiles. And I will move this around to get, whoops, let's get rid of this. I'll move this around to find a very similar pattern to what I had before. Then I'm going to go to my Edit, Preferences, General, turn Transform Pattern Tiles back on, and here's my, my colorway. You'll have to give this a new name. So we'll call this Confetti Spaghetti or something. And we'll put this title over here. Right, now let's say we want to fill one of our flats here. These flats here all have white fills. That's why I can click on this empty space and select the whole object. Here, if I click on this white space, this has no fill. So when I click here, nothing happens. But if I want to fill these, all I need to do is isolate this outline layer. And I'm going to do this by clicking on the white space here. I'm going to triple click. And what that does is it goes into isolation mode. That's why everything's grayed out. And I've isolated the group. I'll triple click again. And I've isolated the path of this outline. Now that I have this path isolated, I can simply fill it with my pattern fill. And if I want to select a different shape, I can go into my Preferences in General and turn off Transform Pattern Tiles. And I can move this around until I see a pattern that I like. Then I'll go into Edit, Preferences, General, turn Transform Pattern Tiles back on, and I can move this back. And then I'll hit double click on empty space to get out of isolation mode. And there's my pattern applied to my flat. And we'll do the same thing. Triple click, choose a pattern. We'll go to Edit, we'll go to Preferences, we'll go to General, turn off Transform Pattern Tiles. I'll move this around until I see an interesting pattern. Edit, Preferences, General, turn Transform Pattern Tiles back on. There it is, triple click. That's how you do that. Now for this one over here, we'll have to click on the outline here to select your pattern, right? Now over here, for this one, it's a little tricky. I'm going to click on the edge here. I click on my pattern, you'll see my pattern doesn't go high enough. I have this white gap, but because this layer is behind this layer, I can just stretch this one up and it will go behind that dress there. And then for this one here, you can use your same pattern or you can make another pattern, right? Now you'll see that is above that layer, so I need to fix that. I need to go into my, I need to take this layer and I need to move it down. So here's my layer panel. This one, I need to drag this layer behind my other tier in this peplum for this dress. And now it's behind there, right? Now if you wanted to go make another pattern, we certainly can do that. If I go back to OpenProcessing, we have all kinds of options here. There's 3D options. You can look around to see if you see a pattern that you like. Oh, this one's crazy. And if I click my mouse, it changes colors. Let's see if I can grab a print screen of this. I have Alt print screen or Command-Shift-3 if you have a Mac. And let's see, I got that. Go into Photoshop here. We'll hit paste. Actually, I can go into Photoshop. We'll go New. Here's my entire screen. If I hit paste here, then I go to crop. We'll crop this out. We'll crop this out. Hit OK. I'm going to do a Command or Control A. We'll copy this. We'll go to Illustrator. We'll hit paste. We can do Object, Pattern, Make. And here's my new pattern right here. So I can get rid of this. And we want to fill our square here. We can just fill it with our pattern. We can move our square around here. We'll go to Edit, Preferences, General, Transform Pattern Tiles. Maybe you figured out by now, you've gotten it. All right, we'll go to Edit, Preference, General, Transform Pattern Tiles again. We've locked it down. And that's how we do that. You want to change this color here, we can do a Control or Command U. Hit the Colorize button. We'll saturate this. We'll change the color or the hue. We can do a Command A and copy this. Go over here. We'll hit Paste. Object, Pattern, Make. Hit OK. We've got a new pattern that we can fill our second square here. And maybe I want to move it around, so I'll go to Edit, Preferences, General, uncheck Transform Pattern Tiles. We'll move this around. Then we'll go to Edit, Preferences, General, turn that back on, and then we can move this back. And we want to fill this. This has a white fill, so we can triple click here. Here's our group. Triple click again to go to the path. We can fill it with one of our patterns. Double click on empty space. And there's our there's a pattern, right? We can do any number of things. And we'll give this Hexalex Trex. Right? We got to label our patterns, and once you have this, you save this as a PDF. In the notes area, when you upload this, I do want you to tell me the name of the programmer. So you're going to go over here and you're going to grab the name of the program and the name of the programmer. Yeah, we used to do the code too, but I'll do that on another video. All right, so for now, we just need to have this as a PDF and the name of the programmer and the name of the program in the notes area. And that's it for this week. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.